Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Nina Warhurst and Charlie State.
Our headlines today: the toughest COVID restrictions come into force for 20 million more people in England in the face of a record rise in the number of cases.
Big Ben will chime tonight, but people across the UK are urged not to celebrate the new year with anyone outside their household.
It is a pretty grim and depressing picture at the moment. The situation in the UK is precarious in many parts already.
Most secondary pupils in England are told they won't return to the classrooms before mid-January. We have reaction from teachers and parents.
The post-Brexit trade deal between the UK and EU is signed into law and will take effect at 11 o'clock tonight.
And it's Sir Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One champion, is knighted in the New Year's honours list.
Plus, it's an icy start for many of you again, and there's a little bit of sleet and snow around. But what are the prospects as we go into the start of the new year? I'll have all the details here on Breakfast.
It's Thursday, the 31st of December. Good morning. Our top story: more than 3/4 of people in England are waking up to the toughest coronavirus restrictions this morning.
The Midlands, North East, parts of North West and parts of the South West are among those escalated to Tier 4. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson has described it as a critical moment and urged people to stay at home for New Year's Eve celebrations tonight. John McManus has this report.
Hidden behind scaffolding and silence since 2017, tonight Big Ben will temporarily return to normal service as it rings in 2021. But there's no such reprieve for much of England, where the new year will start on a sombre note, with millions more people moving into the highest coronavirus tier from today. It means they must now try to stay at home, with household mixing banned and non-essential shops and services closed. It's a tough ask, especially at this time of year.
I must ask you to follow the rules where you live tomorrow night and see in the new year safely at home. That means not meeting up with friends or family indoors unless they're in the same household or support bubble, and avoiding large gatherings of any kind.
The latest figures for the whole of the UK show more than 50,000 new infections recorded in the latest 24 hours, with 981 new deaths reported on Wednesday.
You can see, unfortunately, it is a pretty grim and depressing picture at the moment. The situation in the UK is precarious in many parts already, particularly the South East and London.
Areas that are now under the tightest restrictions include Leicester, the North East and Greater Manchester. In total, just under 80% of the population in England. Shropshire, Devon and Cornwall are amongst those moving up into Tier 3. With no region now in Tier 2, only 2,000 residents on the Isles of Scilly remain in Tier 1. Millions of people in Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland are already living under the toughest restrictions. For those facing Tier 4 for the first time, there's some unhappiness.
I'm in shock. It's completely ridiculous how they keep blocking us in and locking us out, and it keeps going back and forth. I think they need to be more organised in what they do and just kind of figure out what's really going on.
It's not ideal for us, but I think that's important, and people need to follow and just be there, because I think there are more important things like the hospitals and patients who are suffering.
Well, I haven't had the university experience for one, and I turned 18, so I can't really do normal things that an 18-year-old does, but I mean, it's fine.
Rising case numbers and a feared further rise after Christmas are driving the new restrictions. But it will be some time before we know which direction the virus will take in 2021. John McManus, BBC News.
One of the areas which has now moved to Tier 4 is Burnley. Luxmi Gopal's there for us this morning. Morning to you, Luxmi. What's been the reaction there?
Morning, Nina. That's right. Burnley is among the places that are among 3/4 of England's population waking up under Tier 4 restrictions this morning. Burnley and the whole county of Lancashire have been moved to the highest level of coronavirus restrictions, Tier 4, and that reflects the surge in coronavirus cases across the nation. For example, here in Burnley, it's got the highest infection rate in the whole of Lancashire. It's around 466 cases per 100,000 people. And under Tier 4, from today, non-essential businesses, non-essential shops must close, as well as hairdressers, barbers, nail salons, beauty salons. And in addition, places that serve food or drink can only open for takeaway or delivery. And you can imagine the impact that will have on an area that's already been battered by restrictions for a while now. And in addition, of course, in Tier 4, there's a stay-at-home order, which means that people must stay at home and stay in their Tier 4 area, apart from for certain exceptions, including work, education and childcare reasons. Now, the government hasn't said how long these restrictions will be in place for, but they'll be reviewed in about 2 weeks' time.
Luxme in Burnley, many thanks.
Only vulnerable pupils and key worker children will return to secondary school classrooms as planned on Monday after the government's decision to delay their reopening.
The temporary closure is to slow the spread of the virus and allow schools time to establish a mass testing programme. But teaching unions have criticised the plans, with one labelling it a last-minute mess. Well, our reporter Gita Pense is outside a secondary school in Nottingham for us this morning. Gita, of course, all schools had been desperately hoping for information about how and when they might be able to reopen. Tell us a little more.
Yes, good morning. Most pupils at colleges and secondary schools, like this one here in Nottingham, will see a delay to classroom teaching. For most, that delay will be for 2 weeks. So let's take a look at the changes. So from now, the 11th of January, a week on Monday, that's when Year 11 and Year 13 students will be allowed back for face-to-face teaching. So they're the pupils that will be sitting their exams next year. After that, a week later, on the 18th of January, that's when all other year groups will be allowed to return to the classroom. So everyone will be back, hopefully, at secondary schools across England. Now, all these schools are being asked to provide remote learning from next week for all pupils, and they're also being asked to provide face-to-face teaching for vulnerable children and also the children of key workers. The picture's a little bit different for primary schools, so most primary schools will reopen from Monday as planned, except for areas where there are high transmission rates, and at the moment that's in the south of England, and those areas have been published by the government. Now, when this was announced yesterday, as you mentioned, schools, parents, as well as students themselves, really anticipating what the government would say. And they say that this is key to breaking the transmission rate and also will give schools more time to implement mass testing programmes. But it has been criticised by teaching unions who say the announcement doesn't go far enough, and that one union said it was a last-minute mess. So many bracing themselves for another slightly turbulent start to a new term.
Gita, thank you very much. Probably worth saying as well, we're speaking to Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary. That's at 7:30 this morning.
It's 8 minutes past 6. Now, Boris Johnson's trade deal with the European Union has become law. The bill cleared Parliament after being approved by MPs and peers. Overnight, it was given royal assent by the Queen. The deal takes effect at 11 p.m. when the UK will stop following EU rules. Here's our political correspondent, Chris Mason.
This was the moment late into the night when the Brexit trade deal became the law of the land.
Her Majesty has signified her royal assent to the following Act. European Union Future Relationship Act 2020.
The final confirmation that at 11 o'clock tonight, after 4.5 years of argument since the referendum, the UK will begin a new relationship with the European Union. If you're thinking, hasn't all this happened already? Didn't we leave in January? Well, yes, legally, Brexit did happen 11 months ago, but in practical terms, it happens tonight as the UK leaves the EU's single market and the customs union. After all the noise, the turbulence, the flag waving, the megaphones, the resignations, the elections of the last few years, The debate here in the last few days, with the overwhelming support for the government's deal, has felt something like a fire blanket, smothering many of the past flames of anger. Plenty, of course, are still hugely passionate about Brexit one way or another. The SNP opposed the deal, among others, and this won't be the last time you ever hear the B word. But things may, just may, be a little quieter from now on. Chris Mason, BBC News at Westminster.
The Queen's New Year's honours have been announced, and in a year like no other, many of the recipients are members of the public being recognised for their brave and selfless work during the pandemic.
There are, of course, the usual accolades for stars from the world of sport, stage and screen, including a knighthood for the Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton. Our entertainment correspondent Lizo Mazimba has more.
The man from Stevenage becomes the most successful Formula One driver of all time.
He's already won a record-equalling 7th World Championship and the title of Sports Personality of the Year.
Lewis Hamilton.
Where he gave fans a message of positivity.
Please, everyone out there, go out and follow your dreams. To all the kids, please never give up on yourself.
And now, Lewis Hamilton has finished his incredible year with a knighthood. Sheila Hancock says she feels a real sense of responsibility after being made a Dame for her drama and charity work.
I hope I'll grow into it and I will pay back the honour that's been paid me. That's what I want to do.
OK, good.
Also becoming a Dame, Pat McGrath, arguably the most influential makeup artist in fashion. Award-winning actress Leslie Manville has been made a CBE, and singer Craig David an MBE. Following a long campaign for every surviving member of England's 1966 World Cup squad to receive an honour, Ron Flowers and Jimmy Greaves have both been made MBEs. And at more than 100 years old, Anne Baker's been honoured for her fundraising for the NSPCC.
I think it's so important, really, to think of the children because they're the future. They're our future, after all. So I really was thrilled to find this honour.
Making this a particular year of celebration for Anne, who at 106 is the oldest person ever to be recognised with an honour. Lizo Mazimba, BBC News.
And the former rugby league star Rob Burrow has been awarded an MBA as part of the New Year honours in recognition of his campaigning for motor neuron disease.
The 38-year-old was diagnosed with MND in December 2019. He's been sharing his story throughout this year with BBC Breakfast and says it's truly humbling to receive the honour.
It is coming up to 13 minutes past 6. We'll join Matt now to check in the weather. It was beyond nippy in Salford this morning, Matt.
I think that's the best way to describe it, Nina. Yes, certainly beyond this morning. Big jacket, big gloves, big everything. Northern England coldest, in fact, this morning, -6 in parts of North Yorkshire right now. Icy conditions across many areas of the UK, so take it easy this morning. Not helped by the fact we've got more wintry showers. Snow flurries at the moment in Northern Ireland, down these western fringes of England and Wales. You had rumble of thunder with those and more significant snow pushing in towards the north of Scotland, particularly over the Grampians. That will turn back to rain as we go through the day. Lots of dry and bright weather for much of England and Wales today with some sunshine, but some lingering fog patches across parts of East Midlands and East Anglia. And as we go into the afternoon, some of those will remain. Snow turns to rain across the north and east of Scotland. Slightly less cold air pushing in. Still, though, fair few centimetres across the tops of the Grampians. There'll be a covering over the southern uplands too. Showers turning back to rain in Northern Ireland. Probably a wetter end to the day here, but still some wintry flurries in Wales and the southwest. And it's going to be another cold day, particularly further south and east, especially where those lingering fog patches are. As we see the year out, though, go into the brand new year, continue with some showers, wintry nature in northern Scotland, some wintry showers too to the far north of England as well. Rain showers further west. Could be an icy start to 2021 once again, with temperatures widely below freezing. But the start of the new year, as you go through the days ahead, it stays cold. If anything, a little bit windier. Best of the sunshine will be in the west. I'll have more throughout the morning. Back to you both.
Matt, thanks very much. Chat to you later on. Time now is 14 minutes past 6.
Let's take a look at the front pages of today's papers. It is always darkest before the dawn. That's the headline in the Daily Mirror. It reports the news that the UK recorded its highest death toll since April yesterday, but also, of course, news of the second vaccine approval.
Daily Telegraph says the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine could stave off full lockdown in England. The article quotes the Prime Minister saying that not only is there light at the end of the tunnel, but the tunnel itself has been shortened and we're moving faster through it.
One giant hope for mankind, says The Sun, about the Oxford jab, which is shown in the photo. They're blasting off just like a rocket.
And the most read story on the BBC News website this morning is the plea from England's National Medical Director for people to stay at home for New Year's Eve celebrations, which of course are tonight.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.